What's going on, everybody? It's Clifton Pope with Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, and you're tuned into a very special edition of the HFWB Podcast Series, where information is the new money. And my entrepreneurs and business owners can relate to this, those profit and loss statements. We got to keep track of the income that's being generated and the revenue that's coming in and the expenses that are going out on a regular basis to keep your business operating and your entrepreneurship journey afloat. Which is why we got to show love to those accountants, y'all, because they help keep all those things in order. Which is why yours truly, Clifton Pope with Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, currently recommends Strong Elm Business Solutions. I'm telling you, are you ready to elevate your business? Check out Strong Elm Business Solutions, your partner in growth and success. They specialize in tailored strategies that drive results, y'all, whether it's enhancing your chart of accounts, optimizing workflows, or providing top-notch business advice. Man, that came in handy for me getting my overall finances in order because Strong Elm Business Solutions are dedicated to empowering small and medium-sized enterprises with the tools they need to thrive in today's competitive market. From startup budgets to payroll and bookkeeping, Strong Elm Business Solutions are here to help. I'm telling you. Visit Strong Elm Business Solutions at strongelm.com and discover why they can help you achieve your business goals. Strong Elm Business Solutions are empowering strong clients for a stronger future. Yours truly, Clifton Pope with Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, will definitely attest to that, which is why you need to visit strongelm.com and give Strong Elm Business Solutions a call at 361-944-0122. That's 361-944-0122. You won't be disappointed on that. My name is Clifton Pope with Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, and I approve this message. Y'all stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. And until next time, peace, love, and positive vibrations. What is going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB Podcast Series. This is your host, Clifton Pope. And yes, y'all, I'm back with another edition of The Future Fortune. This is part 2 of this, or part 2, episode 2, whatever you want to call it, of the Future Fortune series that I'm doing on the HFWB Podcast Series, where basically I'm creating a go-to source for financial enlightenment and kind of showing you different tips and tricks on how to, of course, craft your own version of generational wealth and dive into the powerful world of generational wealth by exploring different avenues as far as the latest news, the latest information, the latest details on everything: stocks, bonds, real estate, cryptocurrency. That way we can go into 2025 and beyond basically just knowing what the trends are, what the opportunities are that are on the financial horizon. So with that being said, before we dive into all the news and the updates and the information, I want to give out this disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, and the whole purpose of the Future Fortune series for the HFWB Podcast Series is just to provide information and resources that can help steer you in a better direction towards, creating your own version of generational wealth that will benefit you and your family and anyone who loves you, supports you, and cares for you the most. So I want to put that disclaimer out there. I also want to thank everybody who continues to subscribe to the HFWB Podcast Series, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. Y'all keep hitting that subscribe button. Y'all keep hitting that like button. Y'all keep hitting that download and stream button. and let's just continue to grow the HFWB community one day at a time, one step at a time, without a doubt. Now, today is, of course, December the 4th, 2024. It is currently 9:34 p.m. at this very moment as I'm recording this quick little episode. And by the time you're listening to this episode would probably be out, if not on tomorrow's date, December the 5th, if not probably at some point by the end of this week. But in the introduction of the Future Fortune series that I did with the HFWB Podcast Series, the last episode, which was kind of like the pilot episode for this, I kind of gave a brief overview on everything as far as stocks, bonds, real estate, cryptocurrency, and also energy and commodities, as far as a brief overview as far as of what happened in 2024 and kind of what to expect as far as the trends and opportunities to come in 2025. Now, in this particular episode, we're going to go a little bit deeper as far as me talking about all of these things, but at the same time, throwing in a little bit of news and a little bit of updates as far as what I found to be very, very interesting in regards to, of course, everything within the financial world. Because at the end of the day, it's all about creating financial intelligence, financial independence, and financial freedom at the end of the day with this series. Now, I want to dive into the stock market, but before we dive into the stock market, I want to kind of break down the three markets and kind of give people a better understanding of what each market is. Of course, you got the Dow Jones. It's basically the stock market index of 30 prominent companies listed on stock exchanges in the U.S. It's the oldest and most commonly followed equity index, for those who are wondering what the Dow Jones is. Then you got the S&P 500, the stock market index tracking the stock performance of 500 of the largest companies listed on the stock market exchange in the U.S. So all the big dogs, you could say, they're pretty much a part of that, for those who are wondering what the S&P 500 is. And then you got the NASDAQ, which is basically the American Multinational Financial Service Corporation that owns and operates 3 stock exchanges here in the U.S., the namesake NASDAQ Stock Exchange, the Philadelphia Stock Exchange, and the Boston Stock Exchange as well. Now, those are the 3 main markets as far as that kind of like the stock market basically revolves around, I guess you could say. So overall, there's been a lot that's kind of been going on with the stock market as of late, as I'm checking out as far as the latest report here on the CNBC website and everything. I'm seeing that, the S&P 500, it finished at a little over 6,086.49. The NASDAQ, it looks like it finished at 19,735.12. The Dow finished at 45,014.04 as far as the end of the day market numbers, as far as what it reached, which shows signs of it improving and signs of it rallying, because of course there are days where the stock market rallies and then there are days where the stock market drops. Kind of looking at everything right now, the U.S. 10-year bonds, that's kind of gone up a little bit. That's currently up 0.013%. The U.S. 30-year bonds are up. The U.S. 5-year bonds, the U.S. 2-year bonds, all the bonds look like they're basically doing good right now at the moment. And I wanted to kind of dive a little bit going back into like the stock market and everything. Basically, the reason why the stock market is doing well right now, it's mainly because of all the technology stocks, for example. And I want to kind of encourage people as far as when it comes to investing in the stock market. I want to kind of give people a little bit of an idea of what yours truly, Clifton Pope, invests in on a regular basis over the years, because I do have my own individual stock portfolio with an app called M1 Finance. It's very effective. I've had it since 2018. And ever since 2018, myself, I've personally been invested in Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Apple, which are part of, some of which is part of the group of stocks called FANG. You got Apple and Amazon, which covers the A. You got Facebook, you got Netflix, and now you have Google. Those are kind of like the main stocks you want to be invested in, as far as not only just in the technology world, because just in general, because if you look around and pay attention to what is most popular and what is the most on-demand stuff, everybody is pretty much almost on Facebook, if not most people. Everybody pretty much is utilizing Apple. For instance, majority of people have a iPhone or an iPad or a MacBook. I mean, that's just the way it is in modern day technology. Everybody is utilizing Amazon because we're constantly ordering stuff on a regular basis off of Amazon. I mean, I'm guilty of that, and everybody who's listening to the HFWB podcast, or everyone in general, is at one point has utilized Amazon. Then you have Netflix, which is basically the king of streaming services. Like, you got movies, you got TV shows, you got series. I mean, you just had a big old boxing match on pay-per-view there, as far as with the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. Now you got pay-per-views being streamed on Netflix. You got basically football games getting ready to be aired on Netflix. You got, what else you have, Aaron? You got wrestling that's about to basically start premiering on Netflix. It's like, I made this prediction literally like 4 or 5 years ago, saying that streaming was going to be the new wave. I mean, look at how we're watching TV right now. We're literally streaming our cable. I mean, all you really need to do is pay for the internet service, and then just pay for a streaming platform like YouTube TV or Hulu, for example. That's the best idea as far as just, what the streaming world is like. And Netflix is obviously one of the top dogs in the streaming world, because who doesn't have a Netflix account at this point in 2024 going into 2025? Like, let's just be honest there. And then you got the biggest search engine in the world, which is Google, which good majority of the people utilize for the most part, even though Google has had its issues with all their lawsuits that they've been having recently and stuff. Google isn't going anywhere anytime soon, the way I see it, going into 2025, unless those lawsuits eat them up more so than anything. It's just certain things just to keep an eye on, as far as why tech stocks are basically the way to go. And they're pretty much tech stocks are basically the reason why the stock market ended in such a good rally. Now, obviously that may continue going into the week, and at the same time, it may not continue going into the week. The stock market can completely crash the next day. I mean, who knows? That's just the way it is with the volatility and the unpredictability within the stock market. But if I were to tell you which stocks to invest in, I would definitely invest in Apple. I would definitely invest in Amazon. I would definitely invest in Microsoft and Google. I've been invested in those stocks personally since 2018, and I can honestly say I've made a pretty good amount of money off of each of those stocks. I've literally have made at least over 1,500 alone individually on each of those stocks that I just mentioned: Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Apple. And it's not bad for holding on to them since 2018, and now we're in 2024. So it takes time to build up money like that off of the stock market. And at the same time, it also depends on how much you put into it, because the more you put into it, the more you put out of it. I literally started investing with maybe $100, and I turned $100 into each of those into a little over excuse me. I turned each of those into a little over 1,500. Now, it took some time. There were some times where I did lose a little bit of money in the process, but eventually it all came back and it all made sense at the end of the day. So that's just some things to think about if you're interested in investing into the stock market just in general, which I wouldn't have no issue with at all. I mean, you can't go wrong with that at the end of the day. But there's one thing before I forget, I want to touch on a little bit as far as this is going to be something that will probably turn into a big series down the road with the Future Fortune series for the HFWB Podcast Series. We all heard the term interest rates before, right? And most people don't even know what interest rates really are. When you think of interest rates, you think of interest rates when it comes to like mortgages and houses and commercial properties and buying like real estate or buying like an automobile and stuff like that. But most people don't realize how much interest rates are a fundamental financial concept that affect people's lives, in many ways, both positively and negatively. And we're going to go into each of these individually as time goes on, especially with 2025 approaching. It's going to come in handy more than ever. But here are just some examples. It affects the borrowing costs, the spending decisions, savings, credit scores, retirement planning, refinancing. And keep in mind, you got the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Central Bank, who keeps on adjusting all of these interest rates to help keep the economy running smoothly and everything. And again, we're going to go into all of these little individual things on how it affects interest rates and how it affects people's lives in many ways from a positive and a negative standpoint. But it's just, something to think about, but for those who are wondering what interest rates are, interest rates basically, again, they influence borrowing costs and spending decisions of households and businesses. Now, here's a good example of this real quick. Lower interest rates, for example, often encourage more people to obtain a mortgage for a home, kind of like what I alluded to a moment ago, or to borrow money for an automobile or home improvements. Those are kind of the main common times that you will basically hear interest rates being talked about, right? But interest rates are not more than just, helping you get a mortgage for a house or borrowing money for a car or home improvements. It affects literally the whole fundamental financial concept of how life operates and how money makes the world go round, Like I said, borrowing costs, spending decisions, savings, credit scores, retirement planning, refinancing. And we're going to go into each of these individually as time goes on with the Future Fortune series. But just some things to think about that I figured I'd mention really quick. But to check out the latest news again, I'm just going through all the markets, Oil seems like it's up. Natural gas is coming up. Gold is down. Silver is down, a lot of things. It's the commodities is kind of hit and miss a little bit. And, of course, you got your inflation kicking in, food prices are at their highest level in over a year. And that could possibly become more expensive, especially with the supply chain, things to think about. Another thing that I kind of found out was pretty interesting that, the currencies like the yen, the euro, and all those things. I don't know if you heard about what's been going on in South Korea with the short-lived martial law declaration rattling the markets. I mean, that's something. It's crazy how things like martial law can impact overall the stock market. And I'm looking at this right now because this is a recent story that just came in. And for those who don't know what's been going on with the whole South Korea thing, it's basically the South Korean president, Yoon Suk Yeol. He abruptly announced plans to impose an emergency period of martial law on Tuesday, and it ironically enough, it backtracked on the shock order shortly afterwards. There was such political whiplash throughout South Korea, which is a key U.S. ally, critical link in international supply chains. It basically put themselves in the global spotlight, and it rattled all the financial markets. And it's crazy because even the senior economist at Natis named Trina Nguyen described Yoon's push to declare martial law as a very, very poor decision and one that hit South Korea at a bad time. It's crazy to me how political situations can affect the stock market. I mean, it's kind of like what I talked about last episode with Donald Trump getting back in as the US president. I mean, stock market is rallying, the cryptocurrency market is currently rallying, and all these things. It's crazy how little things like that make a big difference as far as just on the overall economy itself and everything. It's just something I found that pretty interesting as I'm looking at all the reports from today and stuff. And it's like, you could just hope that, that South Korea can hopefully recover from this economic slowdown and, of course, just rally back after the martial law was implemented. And once the martial law is not being implemented because it was bad timing and it was a poor decision. And I personally don't understand it at all. And it's like, it produces a lot of chaos, turmoil, and uncertainty more than anything, not only just the political landscape of how people live their everyday lives and the economy, the markets, all of those things. It was just, I don't understand what the hell South Korea is doing, to be honest, but that's just some interesting news that I throw out there as far as an example on how the political landscape can affect the market. It's crazy just to even think about. And here's a good example of how the political landscape can affect, markets. Because like I was alluding to with cryptocurrency, there's a lot of people that are speculating that a crypto boom is coming because, Donald Trump, he nominated basically a pro-crypto guy named Paul Atkins as his SEC chair, which signals a strong shift towards innovation-friendly policies and a transformation era of digital assets. I mean, I kind of talked about this a little bit in my book that I wrote, Dollar and a Vision, how cryptocurrency is more than likely going to be on the same level of the dollar, if not higher than the dollar as time goes on, because I feel like the U.S., and I was reading about this earlier, the U.S. is basically going to foster a more accommodating environment for cryptocurrencies, potentially reshaping the U.S. financial system to integrate digital assets more fully. I mean, look at what's going on with Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin literally finished rallying over $100,000. When has Bitcoin ever been worth $100,000? And the crazy part about it is that the rally is more than likely going to continue. And even people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all of them, they're understanding the importance of digital assets. I mean, look what's going on. How else are we going to pay for things in the metaverse? For example, we need digital currency to have access to the metaverse and all those things. But it's something that's very, very interesting, which is why it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum. And it's kind of like, Bitcoin is the people's money at the end of the day. And Bitcoin is not going anywhere anytime soon. So do not sleep on Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin goes up to, $1 million or whatever, people are going to wish that they hopped on Bitcoin when it was at $100,000. But those are just some things to kind of just, I'm throwing out there as far as what's interesting on why you should tap into, the stocks, the bonds, the real estate, the cryptocurrency, all of those things, because it allows you to understand how you could establish financial intelligence, financial freedom, and just being educated, most importantly in the world of finance, to where you can pretty much just create some sort of stability and security and safety net for everything liquid and everything digital now, with the power of the US dollar, the power of Bitcoin, the currency, and all that. But you can't go wrong with having God's money, gold and silver. You can't go wrong with having a little bit of cash, the fiat currency, which is what the government regulates. And you can't go wrong with having a little bit of Bitcoin, as far as the people's money, the having access to those digital assets. Me personally, what I would say, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just telling you what I personally do, and hopefully it can influence you in some sort of direction or where you can make the best decision for yourself. I personally have a little bit of everything. I have a little bit of stocks. Like I said, I'm invested in the stock market as far as from Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. And I've invested in Nike technically as well, but Nike hasn't been doing that good for me, honestly. But at the same time, I also have a little bit of God's money. I do have some silver coins that I bought a few years back that I'm holding on to because you never know how much silver can be worth. And at the same time, I also have a little bit of Bitcoin and I have a little bit of Ethereum as well. My point is, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of everything. Have a little bit of stocks, have a little bit of bonds, have a little bit of real estate, have a little bit of cryptocurrency. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't make sense to me to discriminate against one of those things when you can have a little bit of everything, because one of those markets are eventually going to blow up and one of those markets may not blow up. So the point is, when it comes to just, your financial security, your financial intelligence, your financial education, and your financial freedom, you got to have a little bit of everything. You got to have multiple streams of income. And at the end of the day, as long as the outcome is income, who cares? As long as you're creating future fortune for yourself, for your family, for your significant other ones, for your kids, as long as you're creating generational wealth, which is utilizing the information and resources around you and utilizing your time wisely, most importantly, and creating your own version of God's money, gaining that gold and silver, creating your own version of a nice little fiat currency stash of having some money put away in cash in a safe or something. That's what I personally do, and I challenge you to do the same thing. Or whether it's taking advantage of, power to the people with the people's currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of that as well, because you never know. Once the new world order comes and they implement a one world currency and a one world government, something tells me that one world currency is going to be involved in like Bitcoin and Ethereum and the metaverse and all that kind of stuff. And hell, the government might even make their own version of Bitcoin to where it may wipe out, eat Bitcoin and Ethereum, and everybody has to go that route. It doesn't hurt to keep your options open. That's all that I'm saying. And with that being said, I think I've said enough on this particular episode of the Future Fortune series for the HFWB Podcast Series. I'm probably planning on doing this, once a week, just to give a little bit of update on the latest news, the latest resources, and everything that's going on in the world of finances. That way you can increase your generational wealth. That way you can mind your own business and realize that you are a business. So you just got to stay to your own and get your own at the end of the day. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their productive schedules, wherever they may be, however they be listening, and tuning into another edition of the HFWB Podcast Series, and especially tuning into the Future Fortune series for the HFWB Podcast Series. We're taking it 1 week at a time, to where once a week, if not once a week, every other week, I'm going to give you the latest news. I'm going to give you the latest updates as far as, exploring the exciting trends and opportunities that are on the financial horizon, and exploring all the avenues of stocks, bonds, real estate, cryptocurrency, energy, and commodities, giving you the latest reports from all the market, how the market does, and things that I personally do on a regular basis, and why I'm invested in all these things, and just hoping that I can give you that financial enlightenment to where once you dive into the powerful world of generational wealth, you can create generational wealth as far as utilizing not only your money wisely, but utilizing your time and information wisely, to where it basically manifests itself through the form of energy. Because don't get it twisted, money is energy, and we must manifest that energy in a positive way. That way we can create more prosperity and more abundance, and it keeps on coming and it doesn't stop. But with that being said, y'all continue to hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. Y'all hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel at Health Fitness Wealth Business with one S. So that's Health Fitness Wealth Business with one S at the end of business, 8726. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Y'all follow me on Facebook at Clifton Pope at Health Fitness Wealth Business. Follow me on Instagram at all lowercase C Pope _44, and on TikTok at Health F Wealth B, the word health, the letter F, the word wealth, the letter B .cp. Follow me on TikTok as well. And other than that, y'all just stay in tune and help the HFWB community grow one day at a time, one step at a time. I appreciate everybody for tuning into the HFWB Podcast Series. Oh, and by the way, y'all go get a copy of my newest book, Consistency with a Sense of Urgency, available on Amazon.com. And for those who live in Corpus Christi, Texas, visit 1316 South Staple Street. Go stop by now and get your copy of my newest self-help book, Consistency with a Sense of Urgency. And yeah, let's just continue to remain committed, remain consistent, and utilizing the information and resources wisely with a sense of urgency to make things happen, not only for yourself, but for your family, your friends, and everybody who means the most to you. I hope that I can continue to be a guide in regards to that. I thank y'all once again. Y'all stay healthy, wealthy, blessed, peace and love, and positive vibrations. What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Clifton Pope with Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, and you're tuned into a very special edition of the HFWB Podcast Series, and it's being brought to you by my new book that just released on Amazon.com, October 30th, 2024, Consistency with a Sense of Urgency. And this is basically the trilogy to my first two self-help books, What's Wealth Without Work and A Dollar and a Vision, which are both also on Amazon as we speak. And basically, Consistency with a Sense of Urgency is all about how to overcome the lack of consistency and the truth on what is stopping you from putting in the work to create your own formula to success. We've all been there before, which is why I'm trying to help expose the cracks on where everyone is at when it comes to people who are having hard times staying the course. Consistency with a Sense of Urgency. This book is for those who truly want to stay after it in what they love and what they stand for by cracking the code on how to remain ready by staying steady so you can even out the odds against you, right? This book will break down how to decide what is important and urgent in your own life at this very moment. The sense of urgency is on because time is money, or is it really? Consistency with a Sense of Urgency will focus on all the information, knowledge, and secrets of yours truly, Clifton Pope, and how you can complete your mission to discover your sense of purpose in the world we live in. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? Which is why I say we are all here for a reason. And Consistency with a Sense of Urgency will help you discover that for anyone who needs a personal guide on how to do so. This is the book for those who are finally ready to quit making excuses and tackle your goals and or to-do list once and for all, so growth, improvement, and evolution can take the course in your world for the greater good. So just like that, y'all need to hop on Amazon.com right here, right now, as we speak. Go order Consistency with a Sense of Urgency, my newest self-help book that I have personally self-published myself. Shout out to Amazon.com for that opportunity. Y'all stop what you're doing. Go buy Consistency with a Sense of Urgency. That way we can continue to remain consistent with a sense of urgency like never before. This is yours truly, Clifton Pope of Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, and I approve this message. And go buy Consistency with a Sense of Urgency right here, right now. Let's make it an Amazon bestseller, a New York's bestseller, because this book is just for you. Let's remain consistent with a sense of urgency, y'all. Stay healthy, wealthy, blessed. Peace and love.